What's up, family? This is Kevin O, and in this video I want to talk about control of the narrative, or who's telling the stories, and how that actually affects the frame or the structure in which we conceptually, physically, and as a society occupy and inhabit. And it's really important to understand this concept right now in the world, because what we have is a massive war, for lack of a better word, which that is what it is, make no mistake, of who controls the story, who controls the frame. It was the great philosopher Plato who said, the men in power, those creating government, those creating rules, structures, are the ones telling the stories. So the story happening right now on the planet is one of intensity, perhaps hopelessness. Archetypally, it's an initiation. And on an emotional level, which remember, people listen to stories, they buy, they vote, they date, they make their decisions a lot of the time from the emotional subconscious parts of the brain and the body. We like to think of ourselves as rational creatures, right? Logical creatures. But actually, if you really identify the parts of yourself that are making the decisions or choosing X, Y, Z, whether that's what you buy, which is a form of voting, or who you associate with, which is a form of voting, or even more deeply, what you think and feel and act upon inside the silence of your own heart and when no one else is watching. You're following a storyline. And a storyline has a lot to do with a dream. It's similar to a dream because there's a narrative structure. There's a start, there's an ending point, even if it's very vague. And Joseph Campbell, the great sage, said, dreams are private myths, and myths are public dreams. And so I'm really curious about the mythology that we're living into right now on the planet. What's the narrative you're living into? What's the storyline? If you're the director behind the camera watching the movie of your life right now and you're the main character, what's happening? What's the challenge? What's the rub? What's the protagonist? Is there an antagonist? There's a lot of people right now that are actually fighting against or forcing their will, their opinion against something and pushing back, which on one level, from a 3D perspective, is really healthy. On another level, and a higher up level, is it productive? Is it actually serving life? Or is it creating more stress in your nervous system? These are questions I've been asking myself as I take time away from social media, which, just like I practice intermittent fasting from food, I practice digital fasting and media fasting during this time. It's never been more important to control what's coming in and what's going out from your cells, from your heart, from your mind. It's very important to understand how this narrative structure works. So this is an invitation to see what frame you're living into. Whose frame are you taking on? With all the alternative narratives out there, or conspiracies, which obviously we don't like that word because it's been co-opted and used against the community of light, it's still important to see where you're still getting hooked into by these stories. And then the invitation, the ultimate challenge I really want to offer to you, that I'm practicing and getting better at every day, is telling my own story, creating the narrative structure of my own life through my thoughts, my will, my intention, through my emotional health, my mental health. I'm living into my own story. And you gain great power because not only are you the main character, but you're the writer and narrator. You're the producer and filmmaker. And even on another level, you're the participant and witness in the whole narrative structure. Share this video if you really feel what I'm sharing about and you want to get that out to other people. Tag someone who maybe could create their own narrative right now because they might actually have bought into another narrative that's not serving them. And so it takes a little bit of space, it takes a little bit of breath to unplug, zoom out, and then see, hey, this narrative's no longer serving me. The bad news is you've been programmed in someone else's narrative. The good news, though, is that at any moment you can choose with your willpower, with your decision making, to exit that narrative and just drop it like an old pair of clothes and create your own. And the extent to which human beings are doing that right now on the planet is the extent to which we're going to attain more freedom, sovereignty, and the deep rights and ownership of the human experience, even during chaotic times, even during a pandemic, even during mass manipulation. Sending you all so much love. Reminder to write your own story. Be the hero of your own story. Don't let someone else do it for you. See you next time, fam.